Hey everyone. I'm going to be presenting information from the Black Student Athlete Summit that I attended back in January. If you don't know who I am already, I'm Lailah Green. I am a rising sophomore on the women's volleyball team. And this year, the summit focused on mental health of Black student athletes. So here we go. So to sum it up, the Black Student Athlete Summit is held every year in Austin, Texas. It includes various schools and institutions, and many student athletes and administrators go to learn, and they focus on specific Black student athlete topics and problems and just different things that come with the Black student athlete. So the next video is going to be a video from the founder of the Black Student Athlete Conference. And I just want to show it to give you guys kind of an overview or a feel of what it was like to attend the conference.
The purpose of this conference, the Black Student Athlete Conference, is to bring together people from across the country to deal with the unique needs of Black student athletes. I think the general public, when they're watching a football or men's women's basketball game, they see a lot of African-American athletes participating, primarily at, predominantly white institutions. And I think for the most part, people think that Black student athletes have this glamorous life. And so what I remind people is that that's just one aspect of their life that you see of them performing. But understand, I would tell people all the time that the Black student athlete is the most unique student on any major college campus in America. If you think about it, many universities use Black student athletes to generate enormous amounts of revenue. And I'm talking about into the hundreds of millions of dollars. You have football coaches' salaries now, $8, $9 million a year. Some of the men's basketball coaches, $6, $7 million a year, and even women's basketball coaches now making close to $2 million a year. And we have to remember that this entire industry, we call it the athletic industrial complex, that this entire industry is largely built off African-American bodies. It is built off Black labor. And what I tell college presidents and athletic directors and coaches, when you brag about your graduation rates, I'm not excited about that. Graduating should not be the goal. Graduating with options should be the goal. Graduate school, professional school, going to work on Wall Street, going to work on Capitol Hill, doing something entrepreneurial, that should be the goal. But too often the bar is so low and we just talk about, well, we have a 50% graduation rate. My charge to athletic directors is to really invest in the lives of Black student athletes. Don't invest in them after there's been some kind of scandal, after there's been some kind of incident on the campus involving football players and violence or drug addiction. But no, invest in them holistically. And I remind people, when you play Division I college athletics, there's no such thing as a free ride. A free ride is a student who comes to a school on an academic scholarship and they just go to class, and as long as they maintain a certain GPA, the scholarship gets renewed. No, these young men and women are putting in 20, 30, 40 hours a week into their respective sport, and often what gets shortchanged are their academic pursuits. Another thing we'll address at this conference is what I call the segregation of the Black student athlete. Many Black student athletes now are on college campuses where not only do they not interact with other Black students on campus, they don't interact with other students, period. It is as if they are quarantined and they are shuffled around campus in the facility all day and all night, and they don't realize there's a much larger aspect to going to college than just playing football and basketball. So this is why we're here, and this is our 5th year doing the conference. We have over 400 registrants this year. I think we have a family-like atmosphere. And I made the deliberate decision not to do a lot of publicity because I want to keep the content solid, and we don't need media to get in the way. Thank you.
So I thought that Dr. Moore's words in that video were very impactful. A lot of these institutions make so much money off of student athletes in general, and that also includes Black student athletes. So I think it's really important to bring up these topics that Black student athletes have and that they struggle with maybe, so these institutions and these athletes can understand better and just have a better sense of self. So this side, the elements of the student athlete identity theory. So there's social identity, exclusivity, negative affectivity. So social identity basically is your perception of being an athlete in social context. So you are an athlete anywhere you go. You're an athlete, you go to the store, you're an athlete at the party, you're an athlete wherever you are. Exclusivity is athletic performance's contribution to one's self-worth. So you measure your self-worth in your athletic performance. So say if I didn't perform well, I will measure my self-worth and think that I'm not a good person, I'm not a good player, I'm never going to be good enough. So that's exclusivity. So then there's negative affectivity, is the experience and reaction to undesirable sport outcomes. So say you didn't win the conference championship. So that's an undesirable sport outcome. And it can affect and impact your life negatively. So basically that's the elements of the student athlete identity theory, which contribute to a lot of underlying problems with the student athlete and the Black student athlete in particular. So let's talk about racial identity and athletic identity. So a lot of people tie racial identity and athletic identity together. And basically it's, say, there's a lot of predominantly Black sports. So say you're playing football, you're a Black football player. That's tied to being a Black athletic football player, because that racial identity, which is being Black, combines with you being an athlete, which is not the case for everyone, but a lot of people tie those two things together. So let's talk about depression. So we talked a lot about the mental health of the student athlete, which was the topic of this year's conference. And the overwhelming amount of information that was obtained it was amazing. So what I took from it was that there's a lot of people that need help and they are depressed. And this is specific in the Black student athlete community. And we'll go over more why that is, but they presented the statistic that 10 to 48% of depressive symptoms are in the Black student athlete, which is, I think, a lot since it's almost near half on the higher end of the scale. This was very, very, very eye-opening. So I just thought that to be good. Okay, so the surrounding facts about depressive symptoms and depression among Black student athletes, there's the stigma. So the stigma that seeking help makes you a weak person. Poverty. Many African American students are not coming from well-off backgrounds compared to their counterparts. And there's the attitude that telling your issues to a professional won't help at all. So all of these things contribute to depression among the Black student athletes. The stigma, the poverty, and the attitude that nothing that any professional can do can help you. And that if you seek help, you're basically weaker than your next link. So, yeah. Okay, so the other stigmas, you need to hide your vulnerabilities. You need to be self-sufficient. So if you have a problem, you just need to fix it on your own. Solve things in the house rather than exposing risks from unknown outsiders. I know a lot of people that struggle with this. They want to internalize everything and only tell a select few people and not bring it to a professional that can actually help you, because you're exposing yourself to an outsider that might judge you, ridicule you, or just not be any help at all. You just told them all of your problems. So those are some stigmas that I've experienced and I know a lot of other people deal with. So yeah, professional help won't get you to where you want to be. That's a stigma that a lot of people believe. So the Black student athlete is one of the most misunderstood individuals in sports. And I think this to be true because a lot of Black student athletes feel like they don't have a voice based on the fact that they are a Black student athlete. They belong to the university, they belong to the school, and they're there to just generate money and play for the school or institution. So this leads to a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of self-searching, because a lot of people don't know who they are outside of being an athlete. So What is emotional labor? Emotional labor is the act of managing one's emotions and affect at work in order to suit the perceived or actual job expectations. Um, if you're an athlete, you know exactly what this is. You do everything you can emotionally and exhaust yourself to be just good at what you do. Be good on the court, be good on the field, whatever sport, be good just everywhere. And you're expected to also be good in the classroom. So that takes a toll on the student athlete, and you're sometimes emotionally drained. Like some days you come back and you're just emotionally tired, and that's emotional labor because you're putting in all your time, all your effort to just appease anyone that expects you to do good. So, okay. So there's social identity, which is your identity as a player or just your overall identity. Personal convictions, what you believe in, what you stand for. Personal and professional. So what's going on in your professional and your personal life. Then there's academic versus athletic. So school and your athletic talent. All this ties into emotional labor. A lot of these things take a toll on the student athlete and the Black student athlete in specific because we're so misunderstood. Okay, the effects and impacts of emotional labor. So if you're going through a lot of emotional labor, you may suffer from burnout syndrome, which is the emotional exhaustion, feeling emotionally spent. So you display a detached attitude towards others, diminish personal accomplishment, experience a low sense of efficacy at work. So basically, you just burn out after all the emotional labor you've just put in. That's called burnout syndrome. So one thing I want people to take from this presentation is that it takes a village. Student athletes revolve around a lot of many different things. So there's the faculty, athletic personnel, and the resources that the school provides. So that whole component moves the student athlete. It can move them in a negative or a positive way. So I think that if we, as a village and a community, work together to help the student athlete in general and also help the Black student athlete and understand their problems and where they're coming from, then it would just be an amazing amazing institution to be a part of. So, yeah. Okay, so what we can do to promote this change and help student athletes that are suffering, we can advocate. So we can advocate for ourselves, be the voice that we want to be, talk to people within our community and outside of our community, see their struggles, and maybe you might have some similarities and you could just bond over that. And then you can seek help. You can seek the resources on your campus to help you, and just talk to somebody that's a professional, talk to somebody that has more knowledge than you, talk to somebody that can help. Seeking help doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you a lot stronger because you're doing something to help yourself and to help you get to where you want to be. So, yeah. Then lastly, I included this quote from Alice Walker. She's a very inspirational woman in my life, and I think that this quote was very fitting. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. So us as student athletes, Black student athletes as well, we probably don't think we have enough power because we belong to these institutions. We bring these institutions revenue. We do a lot of things for these institutions, and we feel like we don't have any say, we don't have any power, we don't have a voice. But we actually do, because they rely on us so much to run their programs. So if we exert our voice, if we just use our power as student athletes and we bond together, and if anything we don't like, we can show that hey, we don't like this. Hey, this is not okay. Our voice and our power is very strong, and we need to understand that, and it's very important to do so. So yeah, that's it. That's the presentation. I'm really happy that I got to go to this conference. It was a really great experience. I learned a lot from the presenters at the conference, as well as the student athletes. I made a lot of different connections, networking, and such. So I'm just really happy that I could present the information that I took away from the conference that was most impactful. And maybe you can take some away from this presentation as well. And so, yeah. And if you guys want to reach out, talk to me, learn more information about the conference or anything, you can email me at lmgreen0416@email.campbell.edu. Okay, everyone have a good day. Bye.